to the 2011 Samford Journalism and Mass Communication Department Wall of Fame inductions. It represents significant accomplishments in journalism, service to the department, and dedication to Samford University. So far, only 5 people have earned this prestigious recognition. Randall Williams, a book, magazine, and newspaper publisher. Carol Nunley, a pioneering female journalist in Alabama. John Clemenson, the faculty member who reestablished the Journalism and Mass Communication Department at Samford. Harold Martin, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. And Dennis Jones, the faculty member who oversees our award-winning Exodus magazine and one of the best-known journalism professors in the country. I am thrilled that the 4 living Wall of Fame inductees are here today. Could you briefly recognize Randall, Dr. Clemenson, Dr. Jones, and Carol Nunley? To be inducted into the Samford Wall of Fame is significant for 3 reasons. Number 1, Samford is the oldest journalism program in the state of Alabama. The second reason is Samford has produced some of the finest journalists, public relations practitioners, advertising professionals in the country. Recent alums have gone on from Samford to work for the Washington Post, ESPN, the Intermark Group, Lucky and Company. And the third reason, I strongly believe Samford offers one of the best JMC programs at a private school in the country. Our students demonstrate that regularly by winning awards at regional journalism competitions such as the Southeast Journalism Conference, outperforming the largest state schools. Induction into the Wall of Fame is tough. You are competing against some of the leading journalism and mass communication professionals in the country. Today we induct 2 new members, George Smith and Hugh Frank Smith. As you can see in the program, they represent everything that Samford JMC is about. Academic excellence, outstanding professional accomplishments in journalism and mass communication, community involvement, generosity, and a commitment to Samford University. I'm thrilled that our president, Dr. Andy Westmoreland, was able to join us today. He'll briefly make a couple of remarks, and then Dr. John Clemenson will induct George Smith. Dr. Westmoreland.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony, and it is indeed an honor for me to join with my colleagues today in saying a word of appreciation to all of you, and especially a word of support for the honorees today. We have a few of our past honorees in the audience this morning. As Bernie has already indicated, this is a very distinguished group, bringing great honor to Samford University. Our honorees today add to all of that great value that we have accumulated here over the years. In fact, as I look around this room today, and I see, in fact, the past and the future of this department, I am very impressed with all that I see. I want to offer a word of affirmation also for the members of our faculty for this department. I have gotten to know them pretty well over the last 5 years, and I can say that there is no department on this campus where the faculty are more dedicated to the lives of their students, both in their academic careers and also the occasional beside-the-desk personal counseling that takes place with students at such important places in their lives. And so I'm grateful for all of this. And Bernie, in particular, to you, thank you for your stewardship of this program. I would have been here earlier today, except that I was in a parade. Frankly, I enjoy this a lot more than riding in a parade. Welcome back for homecoming. And to those of you who are being honored today and your families, congratulations and thank you.
I was not in a parade. It is indeed an honor and a point of personal privilege to introduce George Smith. No, this is not George Hudson Smith. This is not George H. Smith. This is not even George Smith, but the George Smith. Let me explain. Long before we ever met, George and I enjoyed the friendship of a mutual acquaintance. Al Scroggins was a distinguished journalism educator and key figure in the history of journalism here at Samford. You see, Al directed the Howard College Journalism and Public Relations departments for most of the 1950s. That's where he and George crossed paths. Al and I crossed paths 2 decades later in the mid-70s when he was the journalism dean and I was a junior faculty member at the University of South Carolina. Now fast forward to the mid-80s when I am approached by Samford to revive its dormant journalism program. I called Al for guidance. He told me I was taking the job, end of story. Then proceeded to rattle off the names of people I needed to meet once I got here. So-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and George Smith. I'm on the phone and I'm saying, Dean, aren't there a lot of George Smiths in Birmingham? His response was a phone number, as he put it, for the George Smith. So I called the George Smith. We met over lunch. So began a 25-year relationship, a very personal and professional friendship. By the way, George paid for lunch that day, and actually, every lunch that we enjoyed over the next 25 years. My money was no good. It was lunchtime therapy for me. I would ask questions, I would talk, George would listen, and then provide sound counsel. Now let me rewind to the beginning of George's life. His dad died when he was only 4, leaving his mother to scratch out a living for herself, George, and 4 siblings in Blount County in the 30s. George dreamed of escaping, and that's what he did. He graduated high school on Friday night, and on Saturday morning he had enlisted in the Air Force. He wanted to avoid the Army and the infantry. Enthusiasm, acted like he knew what he was doing, and in typical George fashion, smiled a lot. He absolutely beamed when he wore his 44-button Navy uniform and danced the night away in the local YWCA. It was where he could buy a coat and meet some of the most beautiful, eligible young women in town. One night, a certain young lady caught his eye. George asked her to a movie on their first date. George was smitten. Jan and George were later married. While in Birmingham, George enrolled in night classes at Howard and worked at several TV and radio stations. But George's entrepreneurial spirit was beckoning. He contracted with Howard College. This is pretty cool. He contracted with Howard College to open 2 laundry and dry cleaning pickup stations on campus. One in the boys' dorm, and you guessed it, one in the girls' dorm. He employed 5 to 8 students 5 days a week to man the stations. George unashamedly admits that they lost more socks and underwear in that laundry than any other laundry in history. Nonetheless, he left this money-making proposition to work full-time in radio during his last year in college. He graduated from Howard in 1960 and became assistant public relations director for the college and taught journalism. His primary responsibility was to promote and polish the institution's image. To that end, George would work tirelessly, day and night, morning till night, weekends and weekdays. He did everything in his power to bring the media and the community onto this campus to show them that Samford was indeed an institution on the move. George was on the move too. He became a founder, director, and president of not one, but two Alabama Public Relations organizations. And when Howard College became Samford University in 1965, George earned his master's in history. George has said many times that one of his greatest assets during that period was a staff of intelligent, fun, and talented young students who wrote hometown news releases for every student who breathed on this campus. In appreciation, the students in 1963 dedicated the yearbook in George's honor. He still considers that one of the proudest moments of his life. George left Samford in 1970 to pursue executive positions in banking. 8 years later, the entrepreneurial bug bit him again. He became founder, president, and CEO of two medical services firms that started with 3 contracts for nursing home management. When the firms were sold in 1984, the companies had contracts to manage 48 nursing homes in 8 states. At the time of the sale, George was operating the 16th largest nursing home management company in the country, with more than 4,000 employees. For the next 2 years, George served as marketing consultant for the city of Birmingham. He was instrumental in bringing 4 new carriers to the airport, including Southwest Airlines. In recognition, Birmingham Mayor Richard Arrington proclaimed June 2nd, 1987, George H. Smith Day. I guess the mayor didn't get the memo about the George Smith. George consulted in the healthcare field for the next 5 years. In 1988, he became owner and president of one Alabama skilled nursing and rehab facility and chairman of another. And since 2002, he has served as chairman and CEO of St. Clair Services, a nonprofit healthcare corporation that promotes quality of life for seniors and owns and operates healthcare facilities. I could go on, but I'm sounding kind of long-winded. Kind of like George when you ask him something very simple like, what time is it? Jan and daughter Megan would likely be the first to tell you that in response you're likely to get a dissertation on how his watch was made, who made it, where it was made, and maybe something about the geography of the country too. So let me close by recalling another of our many lunches. It was in the early 90s, and I needed some lunchtime therapy over a pressing concern in our broadcast area. I tiptoed around the fact that our students were at a competitive disadvantage with their peers at other programs because they, our majors, did not have teleprompters in the TV studio. Before the next semester began, our students had 2 teleprompters and associated equipment and were winning awards for their efforts. Later in the 90s, George was generous enough to establish a journalism scholarship in his name, which has made a difference in the lives of many, many journalism majors. Let me end on that note, hoping that I have given you some sense of the measure of the man and what a champion he has been for this institution, and in particular, this department. Would you now please join me in welcoming the George Smith to JMC's Wall of Fame class for 2011.